Aloha. Welcome to Aloha Alive. Of course, I'm Auntie Dawn, and we're here to talk about the heart of Hawaii, which is aloha. One of the great kapenas or captain of our team of 18 people is the man sitting right next to me. His name is Eric Yamashita of Everyday Better. Good morning, brother Eric.
Morning. I'm super honored to be here. Excited.
You're already a legend in our community. I was trying to walk out our previous guests, and we had to stop and Vala'au talk story for like at least 20, 30 minutes, catch a few reels, do some photos. Thank you for Everyday Bless, because the name precedes itself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just grateful to be able to have this idea and share Everyday Better.
So tell us, what is Everyday Better? Because maybe people are watching from like Tallahassee or North Carolina and they don't know, or maybe from New Zealand, what is Everyday Bless? And you can see it right here. Auntie Dawn is modeling my Everyday Aloha. We got Everyday Jesus, and he's Everyday Better.
So I'm a personal trainer. I started in 1992, so 33 years of training.
Wow.
My life's work is just helping people be better. About 15 years ago, I wrote, because I'm old, I write things on a notebook or a day runner, not like nowadays. And I put it on the side of my bed and I wrote Everyday Better, and it just kind of stuck with me for a while. And then it would just resonate every once in a while, come back. And I started saying it to my clients, you got to be a little bit better, not having to be perfect. 10 years ago, I kind of stuck again. And then, so finally 6 years ago, I was saying it so many times, and just repetition, getting into my clients' heads about just trying to be better every day, incrementally better, small little steps in your physical life to be better. So I said, okay, I'm going to just start a brand on a fluke. I did a Food Network show, on the news with Guy Hagi and Augie. Made a shirt, and we did a little snippet called Cheap Eats. Wore the shirt. People loved it on Instagram. It's a great thing about Instagram.
Yeah.
And people loved it. I got a lot of feedback, so I made 50 shirts. The next day, I sold 50 shirts.
What?
So I said, okay, something is working here. And then I didn't do it to start to sell clothing, but just to spread a message.
Right.
I like to say that Everyday Better is it's a mantra.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. It's a motto. It's a meaning. But more than that, I want to start a movement of positivity. So it started out as Everyday Better, being better physically in your physical life, and then it kind of evolved into being Everyday Better spiritually, Everyday Better mentally, Everyday Better physically, relationships. So I was just so overwhelmed with the amount of people that connected with it on different levels, and I realized it's such a general term but so basic, but you can apply it to your life in any different facet.
Right. And it's simple, but it's profound. I love it. I've been wearing your merch since I first met you, and we met at I think it was an HBA reunion a couple years ago. And I love you, and I love Patty, your partner in all things.
Yeah.
But Everyday Better is just, I think it connects with so many, Eric, in my humble opinion, because we all can do it. I can be a little bit better about my weightlifting, or about my bike ride, or my walking, or my devotion time with Jesus, whatever it is. I can be a little bit better tomorrow. Right. And maybe, as I've heard you say in the past, and correct me where I'm wrong, brother, but it could be a great day, but we still have some room for improvement somewhere.
Always.
And that's the applicability of it, but it's also the easy way to get in on that. And it is. So where can we get Everyday Better? And we'll come back to that, but I want to say it a few times to help support local, because we always support local here in the state of Hawaii. We're in Ohana. And then I'm going to ask you about your family, because I happen to know your family and just some of the living legacy with that. So where can we get Everyday Better merch?
So I'm on Instagram, Everyday Better Hawaii, or you can go to www.everydaybetterhawaii.com. So pretty basic. I have an online store. You can see everything there. You can go to Everyday Better Hawaii on Instagram, send me a DM. And I do pop-ups every month. So I always
You're busy.
post, yeah. I'm a busy man, but I'm also very, very grateful to be blessed to be busy.
And it is a movement, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I want to get to know you as a person, because, well, I know him, but I want us all to know him and his family. Your Patty is your bride at your side. Yeah. Do you have kids?
I have one son, Ian.
Oh, shout out to Ian. What is he? Okay, so anything you want to share about Ian?
No, he's just a great kid. He's 21 years old, and he's a grown man now. And it's weird because we're kind of empty nesters now. Ian is working now, and it's very validating to have a son become an adult. And all I wanted was him to love God first, and just be a great human being, and be kind and strong and healthy. And he's achieved all those things.
He's a superhero right now.
Yeah, yeah. So
and he's only 21.
21,
Loves
yes.
and respects his
Yeah.
parents.
Which means I'm very old, but it's
He's ahead of the
we
game.
have a new chapter, yeah. So yeah.
Empty nesters.
Yeah.
Well, good thing you have a feisty female at your side,
I have
his
a wonderful
wife.
wife. Correct.
She's one of the most witty people. I love her. I love everything she posts. Okay, enough about beautiful wife. Now, part of what I know about you, Eric, and this is what I want to bring up, as far as Aloha Alive, I talk about Aloha Alive wanting to perpetuate the heart of Hawaii because Aloha is so powerful. You grew up in the footsteps and in the shadow of a great man who was your dad,
Correct.
Pastor Jeffrey Yamashita. I knew Pastor Jeff from Camp Agape, which is a camp for the children whose parents are in prison. And he was just such a humble, he was like the big guy who didn't need to pound the table, just his presence alone. He was a police officer on the west side of Oahu for how long?
He started in Waianae, so probably maybe 6 or 8 years, and then he became a homicide detective. Yeah, but that's eventually he built a church in Waianae because that's where his heart was.
So
Yeah.
how many years service?
So he did 52 years in law enforcement.
Whoa, 52 years. And he just passed away. Was it 2022?
3 years ago, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember because I remember being so hit by that. When you grow up in the state of Hawaii and there is a police officer who then not only sees the need of the youth on the west side and then becomes a pastor who isn't just some guy who's preaching from the pulpit. And please know, I love pastors. I support our pastors. But this was a pastor who did things by doing them. Not just by preaching, not just by talking, but by walking it out, caring, giving, and being. Can you tell me a little bit about your dad?
He was definitely more of a shepherd than a preacher. So
There
my
we
dad
are.
was more of a man of the people. And everybody says it gets kind of hokey, like, oh, he'd give the shirt off his back. But my dad would literally do that. I remember growing up when I was probably 8 or 10, we brought this guy home. And it was Big Brothers of Hawaii. And I was like, what is this? We had 4 kids in a family. And why are you bringing this guy home? He was a good guy, but like, a little bit of jealousy, right? And my dad's like, this... I was like, why is he here? Like, you have all of us. And he's like, well, these guys don't have any fathers. And then I didn't get it. And we did stuff with him, and dad would go and do stuff. He was always there for us, but I just didn't get it. Because you're 8, 9 years old, you're kind of selfish. And then he got a skateboard for this guy and 3 or 4 skateboards and brought it for his brothers. And I was like, Dad, how come they got skateboards? I didn't get a skateboard. Yeah. And he sat me down, and the tears in his eyes, he goes, their dad is gone. I think the dad was incarcerated or he passed away. And there was 5 kids, 4 or 5 boys and a daughter. Because they have nothing. They live in like a 1-bedroom house, and you guys have everything. So you just need to realize that you only see the skateboard, but you don't see what we're giving to them. And we got to deliver the skateboards to their house. And I'm like 9 or 10, and I was like, it took my breath away. And so it was very impactful that day because my dad was always there for every single soccer game, every spelling bee, every sports thing. Church, he was always there for us. He was giving, and I was like, how come my dad's giving that? I don't want foster kids. I don't want Big Brothers. But now that I became a father and I see my son, I see the heart he had. Yeah. And he was always with church or the police department. He was always giving. So where did dad go 2 o'clock in the morning? He went to go counsel someone or go help somebody or bail somebody out. He was always doing that. But he was always there for us too. So it was easier for me to say, oh, he wasn't there, but he was there for us and for everybody. And that's a lot. So obviously he went many nights without sleeping. Yeah. And then but more than telling us how to live our lives, he lived his life by actions. And we watched that. And as I got older, it resonated with me. So that's how I wanted to be the dad. And that's why with my son sees that. Yeah. My dad had a life of service.
Wow.
For sure.
And now your son has chosen a career in the same life of service. Yep. It's amazing. And this is a talk story session. We're conversing. I'm not just putting you on the grill, although I love you, brother. We're talking about everyday better. But one of the things you just said that I love is that we in the state of Hawaii, we hanai, we adopt. Yeah. Your dad was hanaiing kids off the street that otherwise he would be, I'm sorry, but arresting or throwing into juvenile detention or putting into alternative learning, right? Correct. And he knew even with the 5 kids in his own family, he could extend that fathering to other people. One of the issues we face so much today is fatherlessness. Correct. For a variety of reasons I don't need to get into. You're a smart audience, you're a smart man. And so when we look at this is the issue, I'm going to give 10% to identifying the issue, 90% to the solution. Your dad just went ahead and started doing it. Yeah. Which to me is one of the reasons he just one of the many that he was a supernatural superhero. that I highly respected. And I was a cynical kid growing up. I had a lot of bad things happen to me. And I'm very cynical when I look at people, but when I see the real deal, I know it really is. And your dad was Mr. Real Deal.
For sure, 100%.
He didn't just preach it; he
Yeah,
walked
he
it
walked the
out.
walk. Yeah,
And so funny, you just said he bailed some of the kids out. So he's arresting them on one end and then
Yeah.
going to bail them out.
well, he had compassion and he had understanding, and people need a second chance. Yeah, it's
Wow.
easy for us to just say, oh, these guys are bad. But I mean, he grew up in Kalihi, Palama Settlement. The parents were divorced, so dad wasn't really there a long time, a lot. So he grew up with the father was around, but not living in the house, so he knew how it felt. I think so. And I didn't realize that till later. But he had a heart for just the people of Hawaii, and he saw potential in kids. And I was always like, he was always organizing because he was running PAL, so Police Activity League in Kalihi, and so he was always doing stuff. But I mean, I think of all the accomplishments that he did, and he was always there for us. I don't know how he did it.
It's
Yeah,
like
so-
you said, he must have not slept.
Yeah.
Like, how could you do all of those things? Now, interesting to me that you just said something. He grew up here, Palama Settlement. We happen to be in Kalihi.
Yeah.
You work Kalihi. I work Kalihi. And he didn't. There was a divorce early in his parents' life. He was fatherless.
Yeah. So at 12. So was my grandma was working 3 jobs, and my dad and his 2 brothers were just surviving. Yeah. Grandpa his dad wasn't around. So he became the father figure.
Wow.
Yeah, he
And
was-
then not only for his own home where he was fatherless did he become the father, then he extended and became a father to his own family. He had 5 children. You're one of them.
Yeah.
And then he became a family to his community.
Oh yeah, and then he was doing stuff, with church and Teen Challenge, and always like him and my mom were preaching at the prison. My 4'11" Haole mom, so they're always doing stuff, outreach stuff, and that's just what you do. Yeah. So it was like I said, it was a life of service. That just kind of was normal for them to
It's
do
like
that.
breathing,
Yeah.
blinking.
Yeah.
My heart's beating. I'm doing something. Talk about your mom. I love your mom, Auntie Barbara.
I mean, it's my mom, but me and my wife always say she's the most benevolent person I have ever known, and that's my mom. But if you really get to meet her, she's very, very sweet and just not judgmental. And you have this 4'11" Haole lady who was in Waianae Makaha all the time, or going to the prison, and she had no fear. She was a teacher, then she started subbing when we got older, so she would go sub at Nanakuli or Waianae High School. I'm like, you crazy,
Wow.
mom? And she's
4'11".
Yeah, Haole, 98 pounds.
And she's got this beautiful, like if you think of the ladies of the South, she's got like this, like kind of puffy, right?
Yeah,
She
yeah, yeah.
light hair. You can see her. She looks like a little floating cotton ball. When
But
I
she's-
see her. She's the nicest thing ever.
But
The
she had no fear, and
sweetest.
she loved people, yeah. So she didn't see color or race or gender or whatever. So
Wow. How did she meet your dad?
my dad was a rookie cop. My mom came from New York. She came to get her master's degree at UH. Met at the beach. He saw the white girl. She saw the brown guy. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because my grandma's Chinese, so it's not racist. But back in that generation, my Chinese grandma wanted her 3 sons, to only marry Chinese girls. It wasn't racist because we didn't think about that. It's like the Frank De Lima song, or Mr. Sancho Lee, get plenty. We all got along. We seen our differences, but my grandma wanted Chinese.
Mr. Sancho Lee.
So we wanted Chinese granddaughters, but my dad and his 2 brothers all married white girls. So all these half-breed kids came, but
I
they
was
met
going
at
to
the-
say,
yeah.
Hapa kids are the most precious
Yeah,
and
I wanna be-
beautiful,
yeah.
anointed, appointed.
It's the best blend, I think. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
But
But
he
back
met
to
her there,
business.
yeah. So
Tremendous family. Just to put a tie up on that topic, I brought up his family because I have a high regard, respect, and this is legit because I am one of the most cynical Christians. I don't even know how I'm a Christian. I don't know why Jesus takes me in. Nonetheless, I'm very cynical. So if Patty's watching, she gets this because she's a wit herself. But I have a high regard and respect for your family. Like seriously, it's like slapping down the carte blanche card. If you say Yamashita or Jeff Yamashita or this man Eric, it's all in. I'm already backing you. Now, as I say, I'm backing you. I love that every day better is a movement. What does that look like in reality? Because we can say the word movement, but there's a lot of people who watch, especially our younger generation. They need to say, Uncle Eric, what does that sound like? What does it look like? What does it be like?
it starts with you. I always say that if people want to be the change, but they want to point fingers, so change has to start with me. So for me, it has to be, I have to be the person that lives it and walks it and preaches it and does every single day. So I'm fallible and I make tons of mistakes. If you know me, I'm an open book and my heart is open. I explain and I'm real about everything that happened in my life. But like I was telling my son sometimes, every experience has made me a different person, right? So every interaction you have in your life, people have to understand that they can teach you who to be like or who not to be like. Every obstacle provides an opportunity.
That's good.
So that's one of my favorite. Every obstacle provides an opportunity to sit in front of the wall and cry and do nothing, or retreat, or jump over the wall.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have these experiences in our lives, but we wallow in our pity. And that's okay, but we need a moment to step back and guys, okay, how can I make this better? And we rely on TV or spouse or drugs or food or anything to make us better, but we have to kind of come within ourselves. And I think we, as we get older, we realize that there's not a lot of accountability in the world,
Yeah.
in the
Come
government, in
on.
our friends. Yeah. So I think for me, starting to be every day better was just for me. It resonated for me. I always say it sounds funny, but it was selfish because when I do my thought of the day every morning, my thought of the day was for me. And everybody's like, it's for social media, but I'll be 59 years old. I don't know how to stand social media.
No
Yeah,
ways you're 59
well,
years
soon,
old.
yeah. But I'm doing it because I want to share something that resonates with me. Like the thought of the day is something that I think is impactful to me, but it resonates to me. So it sounds weird, but I'm being selfish because that's what I thought that day, or that's a model or something I found. I didn't create them all, but by me verbalizing instead of writing it, it resonates with a lot of people. And if it touches one person,
Mhm.
I'm happy. But it's also, I tell people, teaching is learning twice.
Yeah.
So if I'm sharing something, I'm resonating and reiterating it myself in my head, and then it kind of resonates throughout the day. So sharing that is a good thing. But for me, it's a daily walk of trying to be better for myself. And like I said, it started as a physical thing, but it evolved into trying to be better with your relationships at work, your relationships at home, your fiscally with them, because we have to be fiscally responsible with our money. We have to be
Absolutely.
responsible with our emotions. We
Yeah.
have to be responsible with our spiritual life. So it evolved. I didn't want it to be a Christian or a political thing, and I've kind of tried to stay away with that. But as far as me loving God, I'm not ashamed because I realize that I don't want to shove Jesus down people's throats because I think that's the worst thing to do. But I also want people to know that I love God. I'm imperfect. I make lots of mistakes, but I love God. And if there's an opportunity for me to share Jesus, I will do that. But I'm not going to shove Christianity down your throat. I think that's the wrong thing to do. But I also want people to know where I'm at. I make mistakes. I have successes, but my failures really make my successes greater.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's the realness about you that preaches the best. I love that you said a few things there. One was obstacles are opportunities.
Correct.
And the second that you brought up your thought of the day because
Yeah.
you post those.
Yeah.
And I love them, sorry, selfish,
Yeah.
because they're short.
Yeah.
They're like, you can capture it in one little 15-second
Correct.
nugget.
Yeah.
And thank you for recognizing, and I know it's not a big deal, but you said you don't author all of them.
Yeah.
But they'll be really good little nuggets, like you just did one yesterday. And I go, I've heard that before, but I needed to hear it again.
Correct.
And it's just a little tweak I needed. Like probably when you're training, I went to the gym once. It was just one time, but I like to bring it up a lot. And my trainer at that time, he was like, Don, you're doing that almost correctly. And I was like, dude, you told me to do a little dumbbell lift right there. I'm doing it. He goes, but if you tweak it just a little bit, you're going to actually hit the medial, the muscle I'm asking you to do.
Right.
And you understand that because you're a trainer.
Yes.
And that's the way you're tweaking with these thoughts of the day. I could be generally good, but I can be a little bit better.
Yeah.
There's the key word,
Yeah.
right? So that you're hitting it head on. And then I'm going to get that nice bulge right there.
And you're allowing yourself to make mistakes, and every day is a new opportunity, right?
Yeah.
We just carry the day. Like they say, never let the sun go down on your anger or your wrath. And it's easy in relationships or they're married or not just to be angry, go to bed angry, but you're not going to get sound sleep. And the next day, I always tell people, the next day is a next day. It's another opportunity to do better.
I love it. And it's bite-sized.
Yeah, it has to be that way.
It's
'Cause
manageable.
that's nowadays we're so we cannot we're so ADHD, we cannot handle a lot of stuff. It has to be really quick and
Yes.
yeah. So
No, and we're overwhelmed, Eric.
Correct.
We
Inundated, yeah.
live in a world of inundation. We're overwhelmed. It's the information superhighway, and I'm standing there just trying to cross a one lane. Why am I getting mowed down by everything in this information? You keep it every day better is bite-sized chunks, and you give me the thought of the day is a 10, 15-second little... Now, you just said something else that I want to go back to and kind of zoom in. You know, like when you got your cell phone, you're like, wait, what is the eye color? Zoom in there.
Yeah.
You said you're not ashamed of your relationship with Jesus Christ. And thank you for saying you're human, you're fallible. You
Very.
started with that. You said, I'm fallible, I'm not perfect. We have it up here as my favorite cap to wear when I'm out because it preaches in one box, three words, everyday Jesus.
Yeah.
How did you come to know Jesus as your best bud?
My parents became Christians in the 70s, so probably I was like 10 or 12. And my dad was a cop, but he was a tough guy from Cali, so far from perfect. I think he shielded us from a lot of the stuff that went around in his life or in police work. But we started going to church in late 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think I became a Christian at maybe 13.
Wow,
Yeah,
early.
Yeah, 45 years ago or whatever, yeah.
So did you feel like that was for real? Because I know a lot of
Yeah,
kids
for
who
sure.
say that's not
I was
really
I
my
was the head of the
faith."
youth group and like I was a teenager and on fire for God, and then I became 21 and started chasing girls. I mean, like, yeah. So I always knew God, but for sure, 20s and 30s, I was single and bodybuilding and traveling all over the world and just being worldly. I knew God, and I would go to church sometimes, and my parents never made me do anything. But
Wow.
yeah. But I don't. I definitely didn't have a close walk with God. I mean, I knew
So
He was there, but just
thank you for saying that
yeah.
because it's not necessarily this perfect straight timeline where I got saved at 13 and then I just started living this Christian life that went all the way through to the man that we see today who's almost 59
Oh
years
no,
old.
success is not a straight line at all.
And neither is our salvation.
It's like it's a very wavy, tumultuous. Yeah, yeah,
And what I love it before we started, and you can speak to this again, but they didn't see it on camera. I did. You talked about, I didn't know that Patty is your second wife.
yeah.
And you said, after your first divorce,
Mhm.
God bless that
Yeah,
person. You had your child with that person, but then you went off and you became Kolohe boy
yeah,
because you
yeah,
were angry.
yeah.
That's real, Eric.
Patty's the best thing ever happened to me. Yeah. So she brought me happiness and joy and peace. I mean, Jesus did, but yeah, definitely my wife has brought me closer to God for sure. Because she became a Christian, and that's all my parents wanted that was their prayer. And then my dad led her to Christ and baptized her before he passed, 6 months before he passed away. So it was God, yeah, yeah. And then her becoming closer to Christ and being on fire for Jesus made me on fire because I was back to the cynical thing. I thought I knew everything. I've been in the church for 40 something years, so I was the most critical person.
Because we
That guy's
see
yeah,
everything.
I can see everything. So I always think people are full of crap because I know my relationship with God wasn't perfect, but I watch people like, oh, that guy's taking a lot of money. That guy's all for himself. That lady wears too much makeup. This person, that person. So
Yeah.
cynical is easy, yeah.
Come
So it
on.
was hard because I was like, my wife is on fire for Christ, and I wasn't because I was like, I was the old hat, just a more grumbling old man because I knew Jesus,
Right.
but I took it for granted. But my wife being on fire the last 2 or 3 years has made me more on fire for Jesus because she loves Jesus, yeah.
I
So
can't
her walk
believe
is very new for
your
sure.
dad
Yeah,
baptized
yeah,
her 6 months before he went
yeah,
to glory.
yeah. Amazing. That's just God.
And
Yeah,
you said that your parents actually told you, stop being so angry. Here's a great woman.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she actually didn't really want you.
She was happy with her single life, and I pursued her, but I'm glad I did because
Because you knew.
my life has been fantastic.
So
Yeah,
this is the marriage then.
yeah.
And I'm not trying to bash anyone else or
No, no,
try
no,
to
no. Yeah,
demean.
yeah, no.
Every experience, as you said, is a building block to who
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
today.
yeah.
But Patty is the one that God meant for you.
Correct. Yeah.
That's
Almost
amazing.
10 years now. Yeah.
So the message for those of us who are single or those of you who are watching is that God has a person for
Yeah,
you.
when we force our own plans, it's not going to work. But when we step back, I tell people I have lots of clients who are divorced, and I trained women for a long time. So I became just the ear.
Mhm.
I'm learning with my wife to be a better listener. I'm not far from perfect, but I'm learning to shut my mouth, try not to fix, and be a better listener. And I'm realizing there's lots of women that want something in their lives and they want happiness and they want peace and they look for it in men or other people. And the best advice I can say is you need to find yourself and be happy by yourself. My wife was very happy by herself, and I ruined all that. she was self-sufficient and happy, but I think our lives are even greater because we're together. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. I'm not
absolutely.
far from perfect, and she's very tolerant of me, and vice versa. But I think relationships are tolerating each other. That's the truth.
Well, and you make a great couple because I invited both of you to come
Yeah,
and she didn't come. She's here in spirit, I
yeah,
know, but you said she is actually extremely introverted and
correct.
she's one of the funniest women I know.
Yeah,
I love seeing her Instagram
yeah,
posts,
yeah.
but she didn't want to come be on camera.
Well, she had to work. Somebody's got to work, right? She had to work, and then she's just not that camera person. So
And you are.
I'm very extroverted, and she's introverted. If you get to know her, she's wonderful to you, but her life is more private. Yeah,
But there would be no Eric if there's no Patty, and
correct.
there's no Patty. Well, there would be, but it's not as full as having two become
That's why
one.
we work because we're yin and yang. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so here we go. So your testimony was really you got saved early. Jesus was there, but like you said, success
Oh,
is
we were
not a straight
surrounded. Everything was
line.
the church.
Salvation
Yeah.
is not a straight line either. And I love that your parents, one being a pastor, and he's a hardcore pastor, hardliner, he didn't just hold you to some kind of unreal ideal.
They just loved us. They
They-
didn't. Yeah, they never pushed. I mean, we went to a Christian high school. We're fortunate enough that my parents scraped together to put us to HBA, which I sent my
Wonderful
son there for
school.
13 years. It's not cheap. Yeah,
No.
so even more appreciation for what they did. And they had 4 of us going there. I don't know.
Wow.
It's I always said, did my dad sell drugs or launder money? Because I don't know how they could have done it. But you know what they did is they always had faith, and somehow God provided. We didn't have lots, but we had family. We together. They were always there for us. We had everything we needed. We didn't have lots of fancy clothes, but I didn't feel like we were poor. We weren't rich. I went to private school, so everybody's rich. So I always felt like, oh, those guys are rich. I'm not rich. And then after a while, I didn't care because now I see I had family. I'd rather have family than money any day.
Big time.
Yeah.
And do you know how many rich or uber wealthy would trade all that they have in the world to get family or an authentic person who likes them for them?
I have tons of clients who are super wealthy, but you know what they don't have? They don't have peace. I have peace.
That's good.
People want to be successful, they want to be rich. And I ask them, you want to be successful, you want to be rich, but don't you want peace more than that?
Right.
And then if you really, really take someone and have a one-on-one, you really, really think about it, people don't have enough peace.
Yeah.
Money doesn't buy peace. Sex doesn't buy peace.
Nope.
Family doesn't buy peace. You have to find it within yourself or with God. And that's the only way.
You beat me to the punch. I was just going to ask, where do you find your peace then?
You have to.
With God.
But people are not accountable. They won't sit back and go through all the ugliness of their life and figure out what they really want. They're going to project it or reflect it on other people, and it's easy to throw it onto other people instead of being accountable. So the more accountable, like for me, the more accountable and real and transparent I can be, the better. And if people don't like it, that's okay. I hate to use the word I don't care, because we say I don't care, and that's a tough word, because they basically I don't care. That's harsh, but it doesn't. People's opinion doesn't pay the rent. Doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
I know God loves me and my wife loves me, and I'm far from perfect, but I'm gonna just keep doing my truth and my movement because what I feel is right. It's not always perfect, for sure. Yeah. So I try not to be political on my Instagram. I have strong feelings, but it's just setting yourself up for fighting and
distraction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right?
And I've talked to a lot of the big influencers in Hawaii. They make money off of food, sex, and violence. Yeah, that's where the money's at, because that's what we look at. That's what we're drawn to. Food is. I love donuts.
Of course,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or
so
milkshakes or boba
before my Everyday
drinks.
Better, when I had my own private Instagram, if I put a picture without my shirt on or donuts, I get tons of views. If I talk about Jesus, and nobody cares. Yeah.
Right.
So because it's exciting. Yeah. Like locals punching haoles or people fighting or whatever crimes. Yeah. Yeah. Bullying. Whatever. It's exciting. It has views. And sex sells, right? That's the truth. And food sells.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do any of that.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're never gonna find a bikini girl on my website.
Thank you.
I'm married, and that's not the representation. And a lot of the people I buy my clothes are big girls, and that's yeah. So it's like I'm not there to sell clothing. I'm there to share a message, and the byproduct is me selling clothing. I'm grateful that I can do that. My job is a full-time trainer, so my mission is I share clothing and stuff like that, and it's something that you can wear every day. So it's a constant reminder. When you're going someplace, you can see my brand 100 yards away, and people most of them, they audibly, Everyday Better. Oh, what's that? They'll say, what's that about? Or I was really ready for all the negativity, and I haven't. I thought I start talking about Jesus, and people are going to say,
really?
Oh, yeah, I just, and my default setting is always be optimistic, but I just was ready for people to just give me negative stuff.
Right.
I had here and there some people, they don't believe in God, or they don't think I should use Aloha because I'm not Hawaiian. But I'm like, well, I'm born and raised here. I have plenty of Aloha in my heart. If you know me, I have lots of Aloha. I never said I was Hawaiian, right? Never once said that.
I don't think the Hawaiians copyrighted Aloha. I pray to God they didn't.
But I share it with everybody. So the negativity is so minimal, and I was ready for it because I said, oh yeah. But I think that I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and if I'm making an impact, if one day at a time, or if I'm changing people's lives one T-shirt at a time, then that's good.
I have to say, every time I wear it, because I have the Everyday Blessed, I have this one, Everyday Aloha, which I wore for not just my birthday last year, thank you, but I also wore it for my Christmas card I sent out. I was at Ko'olina. I was just up on not a Christmas tree, a palm tree, coconut tree. Hello, I eat it all the time. And I had this shirt on. But every time I wear my gear, and then I have this cap that I also wear, it's a stop and stare.
Yeah.
And it's not Dawn O'Brien, because I'm a little bit older. She's not the girl she used to be. But it really is this 3-word box, and people get it. And because it's usually black on white, all my gear is like black, and then one word is highlighted in a different color. People read it and they don't even talk. They can keep walking, but a lot of them go, hey, I like the shirt, or what's up with the cap? Yeah. Where you got that? So thank you for conceptualizing. It's a sermon in a 3-word box. Boom, Jesus.
It's a conversation starter. So like my shirt just says better. So some people like it, some people don't. And I've had people say, oh, you think you're better than me? I said, oh, on the contrary. I said, no, it's just about me personally trying to be better for myself, not than you. But you can also be better too. And then I love when people come at me negative because I try to flip the script. Yeah. I said, bro, you can be better. I can be better. What's your name? What's your story? And for the most time, it's like, oh, bro, sorry I came at you like that. Obviously, people people come at you when there's pain in their life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of me pointing out their pain, I just talk to them, maybe make them feel comfortable, and maybe they can share their pain, and we can have a conversation about stuff. It's not gonna fix it or change their life, but if I can impact them by just talking about shortcomings I've had and why I did every day better, and if they have a moment, so that's why when I do events, I like talking to people a lot. Selling the shirts is cool, but it's more just connecting with people on that different level because they see you on Instagram. And it's one thing, but when you get to these events, you can just talk to people and people share their stories. So eventually, I'm starting a podcast and writing a book of all the interactions I've had.
Wow.
Because I just have tons of stuff on my phone about people, how the brand has changed their life. And I'm not making like it's me because it's really not about me. It's me just starting a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, about how to be better. It's like people just needed sometimes, like you said, a little 15-second snippet or something that
Bite size.
Yeah.
You're changing the world one bite at a time.
Yeah, I'm just grateful
One
that
shirt.
I thought of this, and it's old Eric was, they used to call me Biggie because I was a bodybuilder. So Biggie, yeah.
You're still really
I
big.
was all
Eric.
about myself, but now I really don't care about people knowing that it's my brand. We'll literally go someplace and you'll see the shirt and I'll say, hey, nice shirt. And the guy has no idea it's my brand, but I hate to do that, my brand. I don't even like saying the brand.
It's our movement,
But the fact
Eric.
that somebody got it, I go, where'd you get this shirt? He goes, oh, my brother's father's auntie's cousin gave it to me. So it's just, we have these generations of people that are sharing the shirt as a gift and they're sharing something positive. So it's just heartwarming for me that before it was like, hey, that's my shirt, bro.
Right.
That's mine. And then
Old
it takes
Eric.
all the emphasis away from the meaning and it puts it on me. And I'm human, but I don't really
Sure.
I don't need the pat on the back anymore. Every day I have blessings just connecting with people, and I thank God. I'm trying to be better about being grateful in the good times, because we always want God when we're having problems.
Yeah.
But when we have
Come
successes,
on.
we don't always thank God. So I'm trying to thank God all the time, but I have these opportunities, and I think I take it for granted less and less now because I'm trying to be more aware. But I have these DMs and people say, hey, thank you for sharing that or whatever. It's super impactful because a lot of people don't have human nature where we don't have validation in our lives. I did this thing for
Yes.
Men's Health the other day.
That's good.
I did a little thing, and it's just women are created one way, men are created one way, and men are super macho, but men need to be loved.
Yeah.
They need to be validated. They need to be
Respected.
acknowledged. Yeah. But we don't say enough. So I do my best to tell guys, yeah, bro, I love you. And it's not, oh, bro, you homo. It has nothing to do with it. But men have a hard time telling other men that they love them. But if you make that normal, it's okay.
Yeah.
Men will tell women they love them because they want sex or they want something.
Mhm.
Yeah. But saying I appreciate you or I
Yeah.
adore you is different from love. So I try to tell my wife I appreciate her and I love her and I adore her.
Wow.
She makes it, because love is one thing. Oh, I love you. Love
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Yeah, love you.
Right.
I love cake.
Right. I love pizza. I love the
so,
movies.
So it's very abused. So I'm not saying it doesn't have any meaning, but it doesn't have a lot of meaning anymore. So saying I appreciate you and showing I appreciate you and acknowledging to other men, it's not nothing to do with women, to the other men, but we're definitely different when we cater to women or to men.
Yes.
From a men's standpoint. And then there's a lot of men that I know who are business owners or CEOs that are suffering that have messaged me that they want to kill themselves. It's
Yeah.
heavy. And I have the most machoist guys, the ones who are the leaders are the ones that are suffering too, but they cannot ever show that, right?
Wow.
I'm not afraid to
Eric.
show weakness, yeah. But we have to be, so we have to be a little bit more compassionate and realize that all the tough guys aren't necessarily tough, yeah.
And this is everyday knowledge, to use
Yeah,
an
yeah,
everyday better term,
yeah.
because I love what you're saying, Eric. Part of it is mental wellness. We
Yeah.
call it that in the world,
Yeah.
right? But it's also men's mental wellness is a whole different plane.
Yeah.
Speaking to a man, I was just reading part of scripture, I believe it was in Ephesians, about, how a man and a woman are to be together, a husband and a wife, right?
Yeah.
And there's this whole set of instructions on how a guy gets to love his bride. And at the very end, it says, and women, give your husband respect. That's it. One word. But I love what you're saying is, how do we flesh that out more? Because I am in elementary schools a lot with the Choose Aloha program, and I have to teach really basic ways of what does that look like? What does it sound like?
Yeah.
And that's how we can speak to men so that they feel validated, because you're right, Eric. I know some really large Polynesian guys, professional football players or, coaches, and they look massive. They're moving mountains of muscle.
Yeah.
But for me to say, I appreciate you, I respect you,
Yeah.
I so love the way that you love your son, that can turn that man into a puddle
Yeah.
because he doesn't get it. He
Yeah.
didn't hear it at home. So can we do more of that? Is that what
We
you're
have
saying?
to, yeah, because my dad did it with me. I did that. I do it with my son all the time. So I was like, oh, I don't want to tell him I love him too much, but like, too bad. Every day he's off to work, I'm like, I'm proud of you. Be safe. I love you. And then he wasn't always saying it because he's too cool. And recently, now he's 20, he's saying it all the time. Love you too, Dad. So like it's very validating. But
Wow.
he needs to hear that. Like our people in our lives. So I tell people, we need to tell people we love
Yeah.
that we love them.
Good.
Because
Yes.
you know I love you,
Right.
Don, but maybe that day you didn't realize that I loved you. I
Yeah.
need to tell you, I need to inundate you with love and make sure you understand through how I speak, but more than that, how I act and how I treat you that I love you. Because days are short, and
Come on
yeah, we
now.
don't always have we don't have the time that we think we do.
We
Yeah,
really
and
don't. My pastor just said that this past Sunday in church. He said, he knew a young pastor in his church who walked outside and unfortunately dropped dead, like just stone cold dead, no cause of death, right? Wasn't hit by a truck. And I could walk outside and God forbid a bus could run into me, etc. But we don't know. And the days are short.
yeah,
Thank you, Eric.
yeah.
So tell people, that's our life tip, life hack. Tell people that you love them right now today.
We don't know what they're going through. It's just my wife always reminds me, like, I'm 95% super happy and positive, but in traffic, I'm kind of a monster. So I'm getting better. But like, she's like, honey, you don't know what they're going through. They could have diarrhea. They could have lost their dog. Like, so I have to remember.
He could have diarrhea and lost the
You
dog
know, so
who
and
had
she's good. She's like,
diarrhea.
put your hands down, because I like, I'm a calm, but I like fight everybody
No,
before.
I'm the same way.
So,
Traffic makes
yeah,
me nuts.
it's something
and we
about
have
it.
the worst traffic in the
Yeah.
nation, Eric.
But my wife reminds me, like, you don't know what they're going through. Try your best.
True
to be
that.
kind. Yeah, it's
True that.
fun. So I just like.
Do you want to give any shout outs before we bring this in for a landing? Because I'm going to get to the aloha part at the end. But thank you, brother. That was so much aloha. And you're like, it's like watching somebody on 4 times fast. There's so many statements I want to take apart and like look at each one. And that's the quality you get when you're watching, like even the thought of the day with Eric at Everyday Better Hawaii. You get 15 seconds. You're like, wait, I got to watch it again. Oh, good. He posted it like 5 times. And the other day, yesterday, there was a guy, I think he was like from California or Florida, somewhere else with palm trees, and like it's in green because the guy's from Hawaii. So every day better Hawaii.
He's from California, but he was visiting in Kauai. He's wearing the shirt. Yeah.
And it impacts us that way.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And thank you just for all the goodness you put out
you.
there. Where do you get a lot of the source? And then I'll bring this in for the Aloha landing. Where's your source? Where do you get so much goodness? Because I mean, we all have the same chances.
It's who you surround yourself with. I mean, like, so like,
Come on.
Yeah, people say, oh, you don't surround yourself around with cigarette smokers or people who are fat. And I'm like, I love everybody.
Yeah.
If you happen to be bigger and you smoke cigarettes, I'm still gonna love you. Yeah. But we just surround yourself. That you're definitely the sum of the people you're around. Yeah.
What does that mean?
So I just choose to be around people who love God, who are kind, who are trying to be healthier, trying to be better. And it's not that I'm segregating myself from other people, but my life is so busy, so I have to be really just accountable and responsible who I spend my time with. So I'm going to spend my time with, I start my day with God, end my day with God, spend my time with my son as much as possible. He works a lot. Spend my time with my wife, which I adore. Spend my time with my clients, which is 8-10 hours of my day. But I got to a point with my career where I can vet my clients. So I want to be with people that really want to do things and move and get better and feel better and be positive. So it's not that I won't be around negative people, but negative people are very draining. So I have time for those people, but it just depends on you. You have only some percent of the day. So I derive my aloha from looking at positive things, listening to positive things, sharing positive things, meeting positive people, praying. Yeah. So
it's interesting. You're naming so many things that are available to any of us. One of my mentors or really great friends is Scarlett Lewis. She founded Choose Love movement around the world after her son was killed in a school shooting. He was in the 1st grade. And out of that completely evil murder event where 28 people passed, including the gunman himself, who turned the gun on himself at the end of the event. Out of that great evil, she was able to redeem a greater good. And she says this, she goes, we all, at every second of the day, at every instance, every thought, you can either choose positive or negative. Right. Here's the good news is it travels in a single file line. So you can only think one thought at a time, right? Yeah. So why don't you choose positive? Yeah. And here's the even better news than the good news is that there's always something to be grateful for. And so you can say, I'm grateful you're here today, Eric.
Likewise.
I am grateful that you choose positive and that you put that out on out of every pore of your body. You sweat positivity, brother, but you're also very humble and you say it, I'm fallible. Where did you learn aloha? Growing up Hawaii, here's where I'm going to switch, pivot. What's your favorite thing you remember of growing up in Hawaii that's purely Hawaii? Like I remembered with Kelly Boy de Lima, I used to play guava fight.
Well, I grew up in Oahu. My mom was the only white lady for blocks. So the next door neighbors was Gonzagan Filipino. The other neighbors were mixed. Next door neighbors was Hawaiian Chinese, the Carlos family, then a Japanese family, then the Konui family was Hawaiian. So we lived in a cul-de-sac. So it was a small microcosm of Hawaii.
Wow.
And I'm the whitest kid there. Growing up, I wanted to be Hawaiian. I wanted to go to exploration because my neighbors went. Right, but we all played.
Hawaiian
We all
program
played
at
in a circle
Kamehameha
together.
schools.
We went hiking. We played sky-eating. We played whatever like that, kickball,
Right.
whatever. We rode bikes. We got into trouble. Went to Manapua Man, but it was very diverse. So it was definitely a cross section of Hawaii. You had Filipino, Hawaiian, Japanese, Chinese, Hapa, all in one little circle.
Wow.
And we all got together. And those days are the greatest because it was pure back then. We never had TV,
Right.
never had Instagram.
Yep.
We spent our summers out there sweating, drinking from
phone.
the hose. So yeah, so those are fun memories that you would never think I've got there. Like my kid went to private school. He lived in Hawaii. People think he's from the mainland because he speaks so good English. I think I speak pretty good English. I can kind of do the local thing.
You
I
absolutely
guess I look
do.
local enough. I think I look super white, but I'm Hapa enough. But I
I
definitely
don't
grew up.
look at
yeah.
you and think that.
I grew up
but
in Waipahu, and I asked where my heart is. People's like, there's no way you grew up 94 block. I said, guaranteed.
Right.
It's changed a lot, but that was such a safe environment that I could go back there and I go
it was
there.
pure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not the same, but if we could go back to that,
Yeah.
where life was a little bit more simple. Yeah.
We all want that. And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing here on Aloha Alive, the heart of Hawaii. Okay, so last question. Who is your Aloha hero? Someone who embodies Aloha spirit.
Oh, it got to be my dad, hands down. Yeah.
Pastor Jeffrey Yamashita.
Hands down. Yeah. It's just, I mean,
He's still an icon. He's
yeah,
still a
he's
pillar
my
in
dad,
the
but
church to this day.
there's not too many people going to say a negative thing about my dad.
No.
Yeah. So 81 years on this earth, and he changed more lives and helped more people than I can ever imagine. So my goal is to be like that. My goal is to be more like Christ, but it's just in the human form. I want to be a fraction of what my dad did, and hopefully my son will follow my footsteps. Hopefully, we always talk about legacy, so hopefully there'll be legacy and continue. My son is growing to be that man. I think Yeah.
I want to speak a blessing on you, brother. You just said something, and I'm just going to tweak it a little bit, like tweaking that muscle. You said, I hope to do a fraction of what my dad did. I pray exponential.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I know with your son, and he's only 21. Wow. He's already exponential. So to the second and the third generation, even to the 100th generation, there will be many blessings. And I highly esteem your dad. He's one of the few pastors I hold in that regard. And so for me to say that to you is not a light blessing, but you're already doing it, Eric. Any last thoughts you wanted to give to our Aloha Alive audience and Ohana?
No, I think people need to realize that everything starts with them. Yeah, it starts with your loving yourself, being accountable to yourself, finding a relationship. Yeah, I mean, I say find a relationship with God. If it's up to you, but you have to do your best to find peace for yourself before. You're not going to find happiness in sex or money or violence or other people until you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if everybody can realize every day they wake up and they just want to be a little bit better, find a way. It's not even about selling shirts of my brand, but everybody has an opportunity every single morning to make their life better. And it's really up to them. I mean, there's a lot of people with really, really bad circumstances, but there's things that we can change. There really is things that we can change.
Even if it's just getting out of bed for 5 minutes.
Correct, yeah,
or washing your face.
Or moving or feeling a certain way or connecting with somebody like that. We have opportunities every day to make our lives better. Well, like I said, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, fiscally, we can do that. So I implore people to be positive.
Yeah. Thank you for not being the regular influencer on IG who goes after food, sex, or violence to pump the numbers.
No.
But you're a very positive and pure, not peer pressure, but pure pressure and influencer. This is Mr. Eric Yamashita and his bride, who's not actually here, but in spirit, I know she's here. It's Patty, and they represent Everyday Better. It's a movement that started in the heart of Hawaii, right in the journal of this guy right here. But you can catch him on IG, Everyday Better Hawaii. You can also go to their website. It's www.everydaybetterhawaii.org. And then if you really...
.com.
.com. Sorry, .com. And if you really want some merch, they have a brick and mortar at Snackalicious.
Snack Addicted.
Snack Addicted.
Yeah, it's 1234 Kona Street, right above the original Side Street Inn.
Or also catch them at different monthly events.
Yeah, I post events, yeah.
Okay, so that's us. And remember, every day better. Be every day blessed, Ohana. Aloha.